being that this is my first time in Seoul, I was very impressed with the knowledge and capabilities that everyone's sort of bringing to the table. So we have a conference that's focused on, how to be a successful ICO, tokenization, obviously security. So that's what we need in the community, is to have more of these conferences where we're diversifying the topics. It's not the same people and the same topics that you get in San Francisco as you get in Tokyo, as you get here. If we're getting hacked, that's a bad thing, mainly because money is, weird to say, replaceable, but brand and reputation is not. And so if we allow this to happen, then we're just going to keep diluting the brand that is the crypto community. We're going to give bad guys a way to get to our friends and our neighbors and our loved ones, because we need to start upping the game on how we secure our devices, how we secure our mobile phones, how we think about where we're traveling, how we think about storing our private keys, how we think about transactions and interacting. Exactly, all of that.
So you had some great advice on passwords on the panel. Can you mention it to our viewers?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different security controls we want to have in place. Passwords, which are antiquated, outdated. Never thought that we would still be at a point where we're using an old username and password, but we are. So if you're going to do that, make sure that it's over 12 characters, because if it's under 13 characters, it's pretty easy to hack in a variety of different capacities. But it's also why people stress two-factor authentication, having a code. But I stress multi-factor authentication. So we spend a lot of time talking about having this code, but multi-factor encompasses 4 different things. It encompasses something which is like a password, something you have, which could be a card or a token or a code, something you are, which is maybe your fingerprint or your retina, and then somewhere you are. Most people don't think about this, but I can actually geo-fence my world or my high-value targets to say, well, no one should be logging into my computer or my server or my AWS environment from anywhere but Japan. So if anyone's trying to log in, deny it. I think it's just that we're not doing a good job in the security world to explain to our users, our clients, our customers, our loved ones, why they should be doing something. The best example I like to give is you have a teenager and you don't want them to go to the ATM at night in a bad neighborhood. If you don't explain to them why you shouldn't go into this bad neighborhood at night and accessing large sums of money, they're going to do it. But if you explain to them, they're probably not going to do it. On the other hand, I have to expect that they may do it. So I should have cameras, I should have a police department, I should have all this stuff in place, so that should that happen and something bad happens, we can have a proper response. Some of the stuff that we do today is a result of very old, antiquated ways of thinking. And so the reason why we change our passwords every 90 days is because back in the late 70s, early 80s, Microsoft and the NSA were having a conversation, and they said, Microsoft, how long would it take to crack one of our passwords? And the NSA said, with our supercomputers, it would take 91 days, which is why you change passwords 90 days. But unfortunately, if we have poor password management, I can crack that in seconds today with things like rainbow tables. And if anyone's ever interested in a rainbow table, just Google it. You'll be shocked at the fact that your hashed password has already been identified and decrypted. So TLDR is an investment advisory firm that deals specifically with tokenization in the public market. We have 3 pillars. One is an investment arm that's focused on not only a private fund, but a public fund that we're going to launch in a few months on the London Stock Exchange. So doing everything by the book on the regulation side to be able to support and trade cryptocurrency. The second is our strategic and advisory arm. So we invest in ICOs, and then we want to actually build them up to be very successful companies. So if they need marketing, PR, communications, assistance, maybe they need help on the financial management or operation management, security, we provide that, and then ideally they will mature in the industry and just be a good steward. And then the last is most recently our security practice, which I'm the global head for. And what we're doing is looking at security across both physical and the digital world. We spend a lot of time sort of isolating it and saying, well, I'm only focused on cybersecurity, but I don't actually think about my physical security. this is a world where if I'm having a hardware wallet that's in my pocket or in a safe, well, now you need to start thinking about your physical security, especially if you're tweeting about the fact that you were in the industry early on, and maybe someone can make an assumption that you have a large number of Bitcoin, and I know where you live. And so, when we're not looking at just someone hacking into your system, we're looking at, how you travel, what concerns you should think about, and then providing not only our clients that we invest in, but also strategic partners, assessments and audits to be able to better their industry on top of custodian solutions for high net worth individuals. It's an amazing experience because we all have very different backgrounds that probably in a normal situation we may not even ever cross. We have someone that was, like you said, Eugene, was a managing editor of Hypebeast, and you have another individual, Graham, who was big in cinematography, and then we've got four lawyers that are from Simpson Thacher and Davis Polk, all these large law firms. We got traders from Goldman Sachs. Obviously, our COO is Navy SEAL and ran SEAL Team 6 for 10 years, and so on top of myself and my partner from the FBI, Jason, that came over, and we are building up the security arm. And so when you have all these different personalities and everyone comes together on the same goal, magic has happened. And this community has really embraced the fact that you have all these different personalities in place, but everyone wants to do good, and so let's do it. Good question. So I'm probably very different than most of the other people at this conference because I came across blockchain by arresting people that were using cryptocurrency back in the day when you had Anonymous and LulzSec and those communities. The FBI as an institution saw cryptocurrency used as money laundering by terrorists for funding their organization and illicit goods. So my perspective was a bit skewed. It wasn't until around 2015 where I realized that there's a whole other ecosystem for this stored value, and we can actually deal with the unbanked and the underbanked, right? In places that have no access, everything from the African continent down to poor communities in Los Angeles. And so when you think about what we can and should be doing for people that don't have access to a credit card, don't have access to resources, maybe in a hostile world, this is a no-brainer of, this could be the way that we actually give gold to people that will never have access to gold, right? Yeah. And I smile because that's what we should be doing. We should be thinking about how are we actually leveraging people that wouldn't normally have an opportunity in this world. And so that's what brought me into this space. But interestingly enough, the real reason is because I've gone from breach after breach after breach, watching hundreds of millions of records being stolen, lost, sold, and realizing we need to control our data. We need to make it so that I have control. I'm not putting in a centralized server. Everything we're doing wrong, we can do right with blockchain. Interestingly enough, and this is a positive for what the idea around blockchain and cryptocurrency is that it is actually difficult to trace. And so as a result, you have to use just traditional methods for being able to track somebody back. So at some point in time when you're looking at a criminal, when you're looking at a terrorist, they are human, they're going to make a mistake. And that mistake is going to give me one avenue to keep going and keep going, keep going. And so, they communicate, they talk. These are all things that allow us to find somebody, even if it's not through the money. But at the end of the day, as they teach us in Quantico, always follow the money. Because at some point in time, someone is making money off of whatever is happening.
So this was back in 2015, right?
So I was an agent from 2009 to 2015, so okay. that time frame.
Yep. Around that time. So do you think since that time it has gotten harder to trace these criminal activities? Or is it still people will make a mistake? People
will make a mistake. So regardless if you're using Tor, there's all different technologies that we can use to obfuscate ourselves. You may make that mistake, and if somebody is watching, then that's the opportunity for law enforcement to step in. Ideally, we should not be doing anything that law enforcement would want to watch us for, though. So Mr. Robot is a acclaimed TV show on NBC on USA Network, Golden Globes winner, and the idea around the show, Sam Esmail wanted to create a show about hacking. And we had to, as a technical consultant for the show, we had a small team that had to figure out how do we take something very complex as hacking in a computer system or a hardware security module or email phishing and bring it down to a level that someone that has no idea of what that is can understand it, but also not dilute it where it doesn't seem real. So being able to develop the hack, we actually even had the point where we had to do quality assurance on our code because there's a strong Reddit community that they would actually pause the screen and then look at the lines of code and see that, oh, you're missing a semicolon or you have an extra space. And Sam did not like that. Now we had to actually have a process in place to make sure that everything we did, someone could say, yeah, that's exactly right. So it's a great show. Season 4 is going to come out soon, and hopefully you guys will like it.
I can't wait. So I think a lot of people in the blockchain space can also relate. So explaining blockchain to your mother or even grandmother is it's a difficult thing to do, and it's great that you help out on that side. Yes, thank you so much for your interview, for your time. So
cool. Thank you.
I love that show.